Just on that, I note that the Republicans wanted to cut spending to 2022 levels, and that would have cut the spending by $131 billion. Now, I would have thought the Democrats are at their most weak in this arrangement, but the Republicans didn't manage to secure that, did they?
Well, they did get some concessions on spending cuts, or at least returning it to pre-COVID levels. But Speaker McCarthy has got a fight on his hands, not only with the Democrats, but he's going to have a fight on the right as well. The House Freedom Caucus, many members have said that they're not going to vote for this because they don't think it goes far enough, even though he has been able to, while improving the debt ceiling increase so that we don't default on our debts, have some spending cuts, actually claw back some of the COVID money that's spent, put an end to some of the IRS additional funding that's going through. He actually got a gas pipeline approved. So there are some big wins for the Republicans, but will McCarthy be able to get it through his own party before it goes to a full vote?
See, and the other thing is, with an election coming up next year, I thought it was quite surprising that the Republicans conceded that there will be no debt ceiling consideration, because this is a 2-year thing until 2025. And then if you take the fact that the Democrats haven't conceded, it seems, on the $131 billion of cuts, it has the prospect or potential to create a much more favourable economic environment for the Democrats going into the presidential election than they really deserve.
Well, this is kicking the can down the road as we continue to do. And this is why both parties are very unpopular across most of the country. We know that every American business and every household has to sit around either the board conference room or the dining room table and balance their own budget. And when we see our leaders squandering the American taxpayers' money and not being good stewards of it and not willing to make the same cuts or concessions that we as the American people have to do daily, then it's really frustrating and disheartening, and shows that they're not being good stewards of the taxpayers' money and not treating it as money as if it's their own.
Okay, just one final thing here. Janet Yellen has said June 5 is the deadline. Basically, you forfeit, you run out of money, we can't pay our bills, an international embarrassment and so on. Now, if this goes through the House when they vote, it then has to go to the Senate. And my reading of it is there could be procedural difficulties there in the Senate. Are you confident that when this bill for raising the debt ceiling goes to both houses, that both houses will approve without any delay, a delay would, of course, prejudice the very concerns that have been expressed in the last couple of days?
Well, nothing ever goes smoothly through Congress. There always are delays, but your key point was procedural delays. And so they control all of that. The Democrats, of course, control the Senate. But Janet Yellen has had her own procedural housekeeping or bookkeeping maneuvers of her own. She said June 1st, and then she said June 5th. We know there's some wiggle room on this. And so Janet Yellen is actually making the problem worse by drawing these hard lines in the sand where there is some room for negotiation and movement on the payment of those debts, whether it's the 5th or the 10th, there's room.
It's a massive issue. The figures are eye-watering. Basically, when all this happened, I'm just saying to our viewers, when all this happened in 2011, then the agreement was made with both houses that they would reduce spending by 0.7% of GDP. I think the arrangement overnight here between Kevin McCarthy and whoever is Biden would understand, as I said last night, he thinks the debt ceiling is something at the top of the White House, the Oval Office, but this is now 0.2, so it's far less a reduction in spending. We've got this problem here in Australia. I raised this last night with Dave Sharma, because when Peter Costello was Treasurer of this country, there was no debt ceiling because there was no debt. And now, of course, you've got these lunatics like Bowen and others putting us into all sorts of trouble.
Well, and now they've pushed it off. We know this new debt limit is going to be coming in a couple of years. And what's going to happen? Yep. The exact same thing. They'll wait till the very last minute, light the house on fire, and not know how to put it out.
Yeah, no heart to reduce spending at all, and it's borrowed money.